Three Demons Book 2, Chapter 19, Forbidden Lineage. Kitsune and Ava had fallen down a trap door that dropped the two of them, sliding downward into the ruins. However, Kitsune was able to latch onto the edge of the trapped slide, holding onto Ava as the two of them hang above a dark pit below them. Ava and Kitsune then unfold their wings as they float above the pit safely as they attempt to regain their bearings. Isn't that precarious? I can't tell where the bottom is, Ava exclaims, looking down curiously. Then it's a good thing we had ways to protect ourselves. Otherwise, we might have ended up getting killed. Kitsune responds to her, also observing the dark pit below. We better find a way back to the others. I can already tell we don't want to be by ourselves in here for long. Kitsune suggests action, to which both Ava and Kitsune fly back up from where they fell from. As they reach the point at where the trap door opened, they come to find it is sealed shut now. Kitsune then proceeds to punch the trapdoor, attempting to bust it open. However, it doesn't budge, but the force from Kitsune's punch causes the ruins to shake. Kitsune goes to throw another punch, but is stopped by Ava. Don't. It's clear the foundation is in shaky condition. If you were to throw another punch, you might trap us all down here. If not, cause the whole ruins to collapse. After being informed, Kitsune looks both embarrassed and frustrated with herself. It's clear she feels like she made a rookie mistake and that she should have been able to figure that out herself. Ava places her hand onto Kitsune's shoulder and lets out a warm smile. It's okay, Kitsune. We all make mistakes. We'll find the others. But we're going to need to find another way out first. Kitsune looks back at her and nods in reassurance before the two of them travel back downward towards the pit. Their wings extend and flutter as they continue to make their descent. Ava points her finger downward and attempts to light the dark pit in order to find the bottom. However, despite more of the pit now being visible, it looks as if the darkness was only pushed downward by the light as no bottom can be seen still. The two of them continue to observe their surroundings as they spot a very faint opening near the darkness of the pit. They look at one another and nod as they carefully descend towards the opening. The light Ava had summoned following the two as they traveled deeper into the pit. The deeper they go, it becomes harder to see above them as darkness covers the area above them. It starts to become heavier, causing them to sweat as the gravity pushes down on them. Ava reaches the opening and lands inside of it successfully. But as Kitsune goes to do the same, she misplaced her feet, not being able to get a good grip on the edge as she slips off the opening. But Ava is able to catch and grab her arm in time, managing to lift her back up into the opening despite the gravity. As they continue to travel deeper into this opening, now a passageway, the gravity seems to go back to normal the farther they get away from the dark pit. Ava and Kitsune make sure to be careful just in case any more traps are set off. Hey, you care if I ask you something? Kitsune speaks up, catching Ava's attention as she stops and turns to her. She smiles. Of course you can. Ask me anything. Kitsune sighs. I'm struggling to understand your fixation on Randy. What's the deal? Well, he's just a very interesting boy is all. It's just curiosity, nothing to worry about. Ava responds, still having a closed-eye smile. However, Kitsune can feel something sinister behind that smile. We both know how you used to be. I'm just trying to make sure you're not going back to those dark roots. She continued, but Ava just waved her off. Look, Kitsune, there's nothing to worry about. Randy isn't going to get hurt. I'll make sure of that. Kitsune observes Ava and her mannerisms, specifically noting the use of wording she uses. I know you can get a bit flirty with boys, but ever since the battle between lords, you've been doing a little more than that whenever you get time with him. Do you really admire him, or have your demonic instincts kicked in? Because if you and Rhea are just wanting to use him as a boy toy, I hate to say anything good about that pervert, but I doubt it'll work. Ava walks closer to Kitsune, her smile not budging. She gets close to Kitsune, her eyes opening narrowly, her smile becoming more sinister, to the point it becomes unsettling. However, Kitsune's demeanor doesn't break. Kitsune, dear Kitsune, Ava cooed, her voice dripping with an unnatural sweetness. Her hand reached out, fingers tracing a delicate path along Kitsune's cheeks. You always were perceptive, weren't you? But I assure you, there's no need for concern. The tone of her voice becoming more twisted, a mixture of affection and something altogether more sinister. It's not just curiosity that drives me to Randy. You see, he possesses a certain quality that I find utterly irresistible. Kitsune, not being perturbed by Ava's change in tone and personality, spoke up. I honestly don't understand how someone like him can cause the three of you to swoon over him so much. It's kinda disturbing. Suddenly, the passageway they had been standing in begins to light up brightly, breaking the tension between the two and seemingly snapping Ava out of her trance. She and Kitsune begin looking at the walls, back to back out of caution. The lighting lights up the hieroglyphs onto the wall, catching Ava's gaze as she becomes curious. What are these writings? What are these writings? Some kind of language? Kitsune asks, being very cautious as Ava carefully puts her hand against the wall. Yeah, definitely one that's been abandoned long ago. It seems to be telling some sort of story. Maybe a legend? Ava explains as her eyes travel across the wall, seemingly reading what the hieroglyphs are saying. Wait, are you saying you can read it? It just looks like a bunch of scribbles to me, Kitsune states, pulling a sucker from her shirt pocket into her mouth. Ava lowers her head in shame, as if she is remembering something she wished would just go away. Yeah. My family is known for its knowledge of forbidden information. It comes naturally to us, as if we're cursed. Kitsune puts her hand on Ava's back to comfort her, knowing Ava is struggling deep down. Ava's head suddenly perks up. It's about Excalibur. Ava accidentally causes Kitsune to jump a bit due to her sudden outburst. Kitsune shakes her head before asking, What's it say? It seems like a continuation of the King Arthur legend. It says after the battle between Arthur and Mordred, the church deemed Excalibur to be kept hidden until Arthur was reborn. However, it seems the presence of the blade caused the men guarding it to become corrupt and attempt to take it, killing their fellow guards in the process, only to be killed brutally themselves. It goes on to say an angel came down from the heavens to confiscate the blade, and that it had been corrupted itself from sin. The angel was then attacked by beings with black feathered wings. In the angel's final moments, he broke Excalibur into 15 fragments, dividing the sin and its power in the process, hoping whoever wields them would purify them, and purify Excalibur in time of Arthur's rebirth. Ava told the story, pausing to read the rest of the legend laid out brightly in the rune walls. She continued, The angel's sacrifice led to the fragments of Excalibur being scattered across the land, hidden away from those who sought its tainted power. The legend speaks of trials and tribulations that must be faced by those who wish to reunite the fragments and cleanse Excalibur of its corruption. Only then, when Arthur is reborn, can the sword be wielded once again in its true, pure form. Kitsune listened intently, her curiosity piqued by the revelation. As Ava continued to read the hieroglyphs, the narrative shifted, revealing the challenges that awaited those who sought to reunite the fragments. It is said that the fragments of Excalibur were entrusted to individuals of great virtue and potential. Each fragment is both a trial and a test, requiring the bearer to overcome their own inner struggles and prove their worthiness. Only by conquering the darkness within can the fragment's true power be unlocked. Kitsune's gaze wandered across the walls, her mind racing with the implications of the legend. The idea of reuniting Excalibur's fragments and purifying the sword to aid Arthur in his time of need held an undeniable allure to her. Yet the path ahead was fraught with challenges and dangers that even the bravest would hesitate to face, as if the fragments themselves were a curse. As the hieroglyphs continued to unveil the story, the passageway seemed to stretch on, leading Ava and Kitsune deeper into the heart of the ruins. They walked in silence, their steps guided by the glow of the inscriptions, each revelation igniting a fire of determination within them. Eventually, the hieroglyphs concluded, leaving the passageway in darkness once more. Ava and Kitsune exchanged glances, a mixture of awe and apprehension in their eyes. However, Ava's eyes narrowed as she continued reading. But why are the fallen angels so fixated on the fragments, then? She thought to herself back to the confrontation with Hogane, who had taken a fragment from its wielder. As Ava and Kitsune delved further into the hieroglyphic-laden passageway, the story of Excalibur continued to unfold before them, revealing a chilling chapter that sent a shiver down their spines. Among the ancient inscriptions, a new figure emerged from the narrative, causing Ava's eyes to narrow. Brachial? Ava went on to explain that the hieroglyphs depicted Brachial as a valiant and noble servant of the heavens, entrusted with guarding Excalibur's fragments. His celestial wings were pristine white, and his eyes shone with unwavering loyalty. For eons, Brachial stood as a vigilant protector, ensuring that the fragments remained hidden from those who would seek to harness their corrupting power. Yet, as time wore on, the allure of Excalibur's fragments began to gnaw at Brachyol's spirit. Seeds of greed took root within him, poisoning his thoughts and driving him to question the divine purpose behind the fragments. The power he was tasked to safeguard became an obsession. A darkness began to overshadow his once pure heart. Brachyol's descent into corruption was gradual, fueled by his growing desire to wield Excalibur's untamed might. His once bright wings began to darken, mirroring the inner turmoil that consumed him. The heavens wept for their fallen servant, but Brachyol's thirst for power blinded him to their sorrowful lament. Driven by his insatiable greed, Brachyol hatched a treacherous scheme. He sought to claim Excalibur's fragments for himself, believing that their power would elevate him above both heaven and earth, and maybe even God himself. The hieroglyphs depicted his sinister plot, the manipulation of men, the sowing of discord, and the eventual confrontation that could potentially cause the end of the rebirth cycle, resulting in Arthur to never be reborn and plunging the world in darkness. Ava and Kitsune exchanged glances with one another. The legend of Excalibur had taken a new layer of complexity, revealing the role that corruption and greed had played in its history. With Brachyol's presence looming over their journey, they realize things are only going to get more complicated the more they continue with their journey. End of Chapter 19.